What's going on, sports fans? And welcome to another episode of the King and Duck.
This is Tatiana, Canada.
Today, we just wanted to continue on our series of the best players 6 feet and under. And out of respect for the Denver Nuggets and what they're doing out in the West, tearing things up in the playoffs, we just wanted to highlight one famous Denver Nugget player by the name of Michael Adams. Now, Michael might be forgotten by a lot of novice basketball players. His name doesn't really come up in circles. But the reason we wanted to highlight him is because he's a player that only stood 5 feet 10 inches tall. He was able to play 11 seasons in the NBA at only 5 foot 10. So all you smaller players out there, do not be discouraged. There is hope for you to play at the college and possibly the NBA level. But let's dig into Michael and what made him special, and maybe you can take a note or two out of his playbook so that you can implement it into your game to become more efficient and effective, and you can learn from some of the best. Let's go.
Now let's meet the starting lineups. From Hartford, Connecticut, number 23, Michael Adams.
He's the spark plug for BC and as quick a guard as you'll see. Roger McCready, and here pushing it up is Michael Adams. He can penetrate. Sometimes he's out of control. When he's not, he's tough. And Michael Adams puts Boston College in front.
So Michael Adams was drafted into the NBA out of Boston College to the Sacramento Kings. He was drafted in the 3rd round, 19th pick, 66 overall. So really did not look like he was going to have a promising career after all. After playing 1 year with the Sacramento Kings and not doing really well, averaging only 2.2 points his rookie year and only getting 7 minutes a game, he was waived by them after a less than stellar season. He was waived by the Kings, but then he was signed by the Washington Bullets in 1986. He did a little better with the Washington Bullets, averaging 7.2 points a game in 63 games, getting 20.7 minutes. But yeah, he was traded by the Bullets not even a year later to where he would make his mark on the Denver Nuggets. He went from 7 points a game to 13 in the next year, then to 18, then to 15 under coach Doug Moe. Sort of up and down in the first couple of seasons. But later, he would be coached by Paul Westhead, the great run-and-gun coach who coached the LA Lakers to a championship in 1980. Westhead would later be fired, and he would go on to coach the Denver Nuggets, where he would bring his run-and-gun style, which fit best for Michael Adams' game. Michael Adams averaged 26 points, 10 assists, and 3 rebounds in the 1991 season. Not enough, unfortunately, to be an all-star, but the rest of the world was watching. Adams will become the first player to average 26 and 10 since the 1973 season when Tiny Archibald, check our other video on Tiny, when Tiny Archibald was the last one to do the same feat. At that time, he became only the 3rd player in NBA history to average 26 points and 10 assists, those players being Tiny Archibald, Michael Adams, and the great Oscar Robertson. Believe it or not, only 13 players have even averaged 20 points, 10 assists, and 3 rebounds since the beginning of the NBA. Michael Adams cemented himself as one of the best point guards under 6 feet all time. One thing that stood out about Adams is his unconventional jump shooting and free throw shooting form. However, we'll do another video later that'll show you it doesn't matter what you shoot like. It matters if the ball goes in. But we'll leave that for another day. Let's look at What made Michael Adams successful? So first of all, obviously, the run and gun style did a lot for his game, the up and down pace under Paul Westhead. That style of play complemented his ability to get teammates involved, to run the floor, and to be the floor general that he knew he could be. Unfortunately for him, he'd be traded after that historic season because it looked like the Denver Nuggets had a star in Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, known at that time as Chris Jackson. Michael would be traded to the Washington Bullets for draft picks. He'd never see the same type of numbers with the Bullets, but believe it or not, he was able to make the All-Star team with even less numbers. But the world was watching. Michael Adams would never reach that same plateau level that he did with the 91 Denver Nuggets, but he was able to have an 11-year career in the NBA. He was quick, he could pass the ball well, and he could get teammates involved, and he could score from multiple positions on the floor. He could even score from three. He was one of the first players that embraced the three-point shot in volume, and he was shooting 8.5 three-pointers a game in 1991. At a time where teams were only taking 7 three-pointers a game, he was taking 8 by himself. Michael Adams was putting in work. When the average player was 6'7", he was only 5'10". That run and gun style was amazing. The Denver Nuggets were getting up 108 field goals a game, where the next under them, the Golden State Warriors, were only getting up 89.6. So in today's era, when they talk about pace and space, the Denver Nuggets were doing just that under Paul Westhead, and Michael Adams was leading the charge. They averaged a league best 119.9 points a game. The next closest, again, Golden State Warriors, 116.6. If we were to compare that to today's era, we would have to compare them to the Sacramento Kings at 120.7 points a game, or next up, the Golden State Warriors at 118.9 points a game. The difference is the Warriors are putting up 43.2 three-pointers a game. Meanwhile, back in those days, the Denver Nuggets were only putting up league best 12.9, but still getting 119 points a game. Now, granted, they didn't play the best defense, but Michael Adams, under Paul Westhead, their pace was amazing. 119 points a game with only 13 threes a game. Blistering pace. So, again, we're just highlighting Michael Adams, one of the best to ever do it, 6 feet and under, a point guard. So you little guys, one thing that you need to work on is being fast and being a good playmaker. Sure, Michael Adams was getting up 21.5 shots a game. We'll just call that 22. But he was averaging 10.5 assists. We could call that 11. So he wasn't just out there being selfish. The pace, the plays would dictate his game. And he was allowed to run and gun with his speed and get teammates involved for easy finishes at the rim. We hope you enjoyed this highlight of Michael Adams. Denver looks primed to make it to the NBA Finals unless the Lakers come up with some way to stop them. But Denver has a rich history of running and gunning. We hope you like this. Please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned. Peace.